Hello everyone, I am Pixel, and today on the Sapphire Tech YouTube channel we are going to be taking a look at the brand new release of Titanfall 2 running on the SAPPHIRE Nitro RX 480. Throughout the duration of this video you will see the yellow frame rate counter right now in the top right hand corner of your screen, and I'll also be sticking up the in-game settings on screen now as well. We are basically running on very high settings, with only really the textures being turned down from what is the maximum or the insane setting down to very high. When it comes to performance, I am very happy to report that Titanfall 2 appears to run very well indeed. I managed to maintain a minimum of 60 FPS at 1080p for the vast majority of both the single player and the multiplayer, with dips only really occurring in the very pretty non-combat sections of the single player campaign. In multiplayer the performance was fine, but if you do have access to a high refresh rate monitor, I would recommend lowering a few settings here and there to try and maintain that 120 FPS that you really strive for. It's really down to personal preference. I'd personally do it, but yeah, it's your choice. Anyway, moving on from the performance, what is Titanfall 2? For those of you that never got around to playing or checking out the original Titanfall, it is a first-person shooter by the guys and girls over at Respawn Entertainment. Now, what sets Titanfall apart from its competition is the inclusion of Titans, which are basically huge mechs that not only stomp around the battlefield, but can also be piloted by players. While on paper this may sound like suicide when it comes to gameplay and balance because, well, mechs versus pilots hardly sounds fair, the developers managed to marry the two together in such a way that both feel extremely strong, yet extremely vulnerable at the same time. Now, I assume that most of you here are mostly interested in the multiplayer, but before we go there, let's take a quick look at the single player campaign. Honestly, before booting up the game I had fairly low expectations of the campaign, mainly due to how the story was handled in the original Titanfall, and because we don't have all that many examples of great multiplayer only games making the successful leap over to single player. However, I am happy to report that Titanfall 2 does in fact manage to make that leap, at least for the most part. Let me be straight with you guys, this game is not going to be winning any awards when it comes to its storytelling, but when the gameplay is so well paced out, I don't really think that it matters all that much. The campaign is short, and when I say short, I mean no longer than 4 or 5 hours in length on the regular or hard difficulty settings. However, I'm not sure that making the campaign any longer would have actually made it any better. The pacing on display here is superb. At first I was a little bit concerned that they may focus a little bit too much on either the pilots or the Titans, however thankfully that is not the case. Respawn have done a great job here. One moment you'll be running and gunning your way through waves of enemies, and the next you'll be platforming yourself through a hostile environment, then you throw in the Titan gameplay into the mix, and you just end up with an experience that should be able to hold your interest for the entire duration. Also, throughout the campaign you are regularly introduced to new features and mechanics that drastically change the way that you play. I cannot really go into any detail as I don't want to spoil too much, but please do take my word for it when I say that even I was surprised by some of the things that you are able to do in the single player. If you enjoy a dumb, fun action film from time to time, then Titanfall 2's campaign is probably right up your alley. It is also worth mentioning just how good the single player campaign actually looks. There are some sections where I literally felt the need to stop in my tracks just to admire whatever it was that I was looking at. While on a technical level it's probably not pushing any boundaries whatsoever, when it comes to the aesthetics the developers absolutely nailed it. The multiplayer on the other hand is almost exactly what I was expecting, basically more of the original Titanfall with a little bit more depth and a little bit more polish. The movement system is as great as it's ever been, allowing you to quickly traverse the terrain using double jumps, wall rides and even a grappling hook this time round. While the more skilled players will be able to move around much more efficiently than other players, the movement system is very intuitive and allows most players to get where they want to go with relative ease and without frustration. The Titans have also had a little bit of a rework. Instead of just selecting a class and then customizing it, you now have to select a predefined Titan, each with their own strengths, weaknesses and playstyle. Personally, I really like this change as it mixes things up a little bit, and it also makes sure that most of these configurations are viable, rather than just having 1 or 2 min-maxed configs that the majority of the players use. There is also a rather large selection of game modes on offer here, many offering their own twist on the pilot versus Titan gameplay that Titanfall is based upon, as well as a couple of Titan only and pilot only modes as well, just so you can mix it up a little bit. And this time around you also see the removal of the controversial burn card system, which were basically the single use power ups that you could use once each during the match of the original Titanfall, which was a little bit overpowered and a little bit too strong, so I'm kind of glad to see them go. One cool addition to the multiplayer is the ability to apply cosmetic skins to your pilots, titans and weapons. While this feature is implemented in a fairly simplistic manner, it is nice to see just how many options are available and how good they look when applied. Really, what is important is the gameplay, and the gameplay is very strong. Respawn have managed to do an even better job this time around when it comes to the balance of power between the pilots and the titans. Both feel so much stronger than what they did in the original Titanfall, and yet at the same time they feel so much more vulnerable. Overall, it just feels tight, responsive, and most importantly, fun. Honestly, I have really enjoyed my time with the multiplayer, and I do think that it's a massive step forward from the original. However, it's not perfect. One of the biggest criticisms of the original Titanfall was the lack of depth in multiplayer, and while things are certainly much better this time round, I'm still not convinced that there's enough to keep me interested in the long term. In the short term, I'm hooked. In the long term, I'm worried that I might just get a little bit bored. I've enjoyed my time with it, and I will play it probably quite a lot in the coming weeks, probably a little bit too much, and I just don't know if it's going to have enough to keep me interested longer than that couple of months. Fingers crossed it will, but we will have to wait and see. Anyway, that's going to be me done for today. If you are new to the channel, please don't forget to slap that subscribe button. If you're on Twitter, also be sure to follow the Sapphire Tech Twitter feed and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section below, and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. Also, if you've got any other suggestions for games that you'd like to see, or any differences to this video, then I'd be happy to hear them as well. Once again, guys, I have been Pixel. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.